Yum. Hey, how we doing? I participated in the Blackthornprod Game Jam. I had 7 days to make a game. Oh. Oh no. How so? Perfect scenario to make a crane crash. Wait. Train crash. Or was it plane crash? Whatever, something goes horribly wrong. But hey, at least I get the AAA developer experience with all the crunch I probably have to do. The topic was less is more. And oh boy, a lot of people didn't know what that meant. Definition. Sometimes something simple is better than something advanced or complicated. Or with my own words, if you have something less, it's beneficial. So I cooked up some ideas like an adventurer which loots dungeons and gets slower the more treasure he collects. But that sounded kinda boring. And I thought a lot of people would do that. The second thought was about a shooter where your enemies drop a lot of ammo and weapons. And you have to switch and match the weapon type to the different enemies. And it's all chaos, because there are weapons anywhere. So, concept down. And now I have to decide which art style I should use. And minimalism art came in my mind, so I went with that. And no, not that weird art like a cum stain or shit in a can. That's actually a real thing. And people pay money to see that. Maybe I become an artist. Hey. But I digress. I mean that art which invokes no emotions and it's simple and bare. I also took a page from the minimalist movement. Their mantra is less is more. So they live without unnecessary things. I accept the challenge. So I don't use UI elements. And my sound just comes from the most minimalistic instrument there is. The triangle. Or more specific, one sample of a triangle. Perfect! Having an unrealistic deadline, check. Making it artificially harder than it is, check. Am I a moron? Check. So we jump right in. The first thing I made was a weapon. I designed it so you can drag a bullet into a weapon to reload. Easiest thing in the world. I just check if the reload zone and the bullet overlaps and add ammunition to the weapon. For shooting I implemented a shoot interface. An interface is just a contract which says that you have to implement that function. But you can do with that function whatever you want. For the other weapons I didn't have to do anything, because I used inheritance. That means the child has all the functions of his parents, so I just had to assign a different mesh. The bullet don't have any function, just a variable of bullet type, so I know which bullet belongs to which weapon. Then I added projectiles. They have just a hit function, which gets called when an enemy is hit. Now we come to the enemy creation. I never made AI in Unreal, so perfect timing to watch YouTube videos about it. In the end I made an enemy that walks towards you, then shoots when in range. An enemy that zaps randomly around, then shoots, waits and zaps around. And an enemy that, when in attack range, he strays around you. Oh, and all those enemies inherit from the base enemy class to save time. After making the enemies I have to make the inventory. How much time do I have left? Oh, now I need an inventory and oh no, I can't use UI. God damn it! Why did God forsaken me? Am I a moron? Well, if I'm a dumbass, that means outsmarting myself is pretty easy. So rather than an UI inventory, I make a physical box which follows you. But there was one problem: when I move the box too quickly, all the bullets and weapons are going to fall out. I could add a lid on the box that would work for the weapons, because I can teleport them, but I can't do the same with the bullets. I could make it so if you pick up a bullet that it ignores the lid, but I didn't know how to make that in Unreal, because the collision system in Unreal is confusing and also the time was running out. So a quick solution was that I moved the box slowly to the player. I know, not the best solution, but hey, it works. So, making the art for the levels. I used simple forms like a box and added simple deform modifiers and arrays to it, and got those things. For the weapons I used mostly simple shapes, except for the railgun. I used some of the procedural generated parts and kit bashed them together. Now I had to spawn the waves. That was straightforward. I just have to spawn the enemies and assign them to an array, and when they died I delete them from the array. And when the array was empty I spawned the next wave, and I do that for every wave. So I tested the first wave and... oh no, I can't play. And I just had 1 day left. I clearly didn't curse or cried at the time, but it was bedtime and I hoped for the best the next day. After 6.5 hours of sleeping, I went right back to seek a solution for my problem, and after 30 minutes of searching I found the solution and it was stupid. Okay, here's the but. If you accidentally parent your camera on a static mesh and you move it back, the camera is still set to static. But you can't change it to movable because the camera doesn't have that option. So relieved I went to the sound part and oh boy, making sound effects just with one sample was hard. Why did God forsaken me? Am I moron? So let's start with the background music. I used the triangle sound and sampled it through Vital. That's how it sounds sampled through Vital. Still the same, right? Wrong! Because now I can make that sound my bitch and do whatever I want with it. I can manually scrub through the sample, but I can also use an LFO, which stands for Low Frequency Oscillator, to scrub through the sample. Or simply put, this drives that knob. But now what happens if I use a different LFO like that one? And when I put an LFO to the pitch, and now I add a chorus which makes the sound wider, add a compressor to normalize the sound, downsample it to make it low quality, add a phaser which moves the sound, and I pitch the whole thing down by a lot. Let's make another example like the sound when you get hit. I get our good old triangle, pitch it down, then I sample it and pitch it also down. I already added a LFO to scrub through the sample. Then I add a flank filter and add the second LFO to the volume, so I have a one-shot sound. I add a compressor and distortion to the sound, and that's what you get. The pickup sound was a little bit more challenging. I start again with the sample. And I use this LFO for scrubbing and the volume. I pitch everything down and add this filter. I added my favorites, compressor and distortion. The hardest part was to make a fighting music which should be really pumping. To remind you, that's the sound I have to turn into fighting music. So first, business as usual, I pitched down the sample, then I sampled the triangle a second time, which is also pitched down. Then I used the second LFO to pitch up the first sample, and I used the third LFO to control the strength of the filter, which controls the second sample, and those are the high-pitched sounds you hear. In the effect channel I added the usual suspects: chorus, compressor and distortion. I also recorded voice instructions because who wants to read how to play the game? Like, come on! I make games for lazy people. And I edited it with autotune because autotune is
fucking nice! Oh yeah!
So while I had just 5 hours left and the deadline breathing in my neck, I had to implement the sound, and hopefully nothing goes wrong when I'm packaging my game. Woo! Done! I mean, I never doubted me, not even for 1 second. So in the end, I submitted my game. Maybe not the best thing that was ever made, but I had fun making it. Good night, sweetie. So thanks for watching! If you wanna see more bullshit like that, subscribe and like the video. I really appreciate it, and goodbye!